Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. A channel where I like to make book content as well as homeschool content that mostly has to do with books. And today, that's what I want to do. I want to talk about the books that I have read aloud to my kids in the past couple years when they have been kind of in that 4 and 5-year-old time frame. Oftentimes, good read-alouds for this age group are quick-paced as well as contain pictures. So the first book I read my son when he was probably 4 still, like an older 4, was My Father's Dragon. This is a really cute book about a boy who goes on this adventure to try and rescue a dragon that has been chained and imprisoned on this island by various creatures. He goes to this island and he attempts to rescue this dragon. It's a really sweet story. It has a lot of pictures and larger pictures, black and white pictures, but a number of them. And so it definitely can keep the story going fast. And this copy I have has the 3 books involved in it, and so it's not if you're reading just My Father's Dragon, it's much smaller than this, but this is kind of the trilogy all there. So I highly recommend that. That's a good start, especially for a boy, although my daughter loves it too, but I feel like my son definitely liked the adventure part. So I like that book a lot. The next book that I read when they were a little bit on the younger side that my daughter really liked was called 2 Times the Fun, but I believe it's by Beverly Cleary. I will put a picture up. This book it's really cute. It's really fast. I think we might have read it in a half an hour. It's a really quick read. It also has lots of pictures, but it's broken up into chapters, kind of these. It's a story about these 2 twins and just kind of their cuteness and antics. They're 4 years old, so my 4-year-old really enjoyed it when we read it, and she could kind of resonate with their imagination and creativity and silly things they said and expected. So I really like that book. Maybe we liked it even more because of the twin aspect, and because we have twins, and so my older kids just loved the fact that they were twins. So I really like that book. Another book I also don't have, I got from the library, is called Bears on Hemlock Mountain. It's a pretty small book. It's a pretty quick read, but it's actually really good for boys. It's about this boy who is asked by his mother to go over the mountain to get something from his aunt and then come back, and he's worried that there's bears on Hemlock Mountain, but everybody's like, no, there's never been bears on Hemlock Mountain. So that's kind of part of the story, is there really bears? And then he kind of stays a little too long, and then it gets dark, and you can kind of see where this goes. So it's a really good book. It's really cute, pretty quick. Again, lots of pictures. The next book that we read and really liked is called Mr. Popper's Penguins by Richard and Florence Atwater. It's a really cute book. We read it as part of our Around the World curriculum last year when we got to Antarctica, and my kids really liked it. It's a very cute, again, it has pictures, but it's a very cute story. It was about this man who was interested in the Antarctic, and then this captain sends him a penguin in the mail, and then what happens from there. It's a really cute story. It's really funny. The penguins are funny, the antics are funny. The kids really enjoyed kind of that sort of comedy in the book, and so they liked it. I thought it was really cute, and I liked it as well. So I am kind of going in order of what the progression of our reading, but we also read The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary. So this is a really cute book. This is about Ralph, who's a mouse who lives in this hotel, and him and his family live in this hole in one of the rooms. I forget which room, but they're always looking for crumbs and different things. And then there's this boy who has a toy motorcycle that Ralph can't resist, and then they start forming this friendship, and the book goes from there. It's very enjoyable. Talking mice. A lot of these early stories have talking animals, which it works. My kids like it. They enjoy it more because of that, and again, more pictures. Next one we read was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is just such a wonderfully classic story, which is just very entertaining for kids. It's entertaining to think about those themes of entitlement and greed and in his case poverty, but It's a really good story, and my kids really enjoyed it. They could envision it pretty well, and they kept asking for more. So that was a very good one. Next we read the classic. Next, of course, we read this, Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. It's a book about Wilbur the pig and his friend Charlotte the spider. And it is very much at its heart about friendship, but it also has some wonderful characters and talking animals. And then the girl has just a very lovely character that you just sympathize with her, and some of the underlying themes. And the main one, I think, being death and how Charlotte dies in the end, is just a very good talking point for kids. And this is a book that I definitely want to revisit. I don't feel like my kids totally felt the gravity of kind of the end when Charlotte dies. They really appreciated the story, but I think they could get a little bit more out of it. It might be a reread that we pick back up when the twins are a little bit older, and then my big kids can hear it again. But it was still very good, and they still really enjoyed it as 4 and 5-year-olds. So I highly recommend that one. So we also read this book, which is a little bit more obscure than Charlotte's Web. It's called Audrey of the Outback. It's by Christine Harris. And it's a really cute book about this girl who grows up in the Australian outback. Yeah, it has a lot of slang words and just differences and different animals and different sand and soil and experiences, but at the heart she is still a little girl, and she's easily relatable. We really enjoyed that. And another one that is kind of similar is the Anna Hibiscus. I think there are a number of books in this series, and this is the first one, and this is where Anna goes to Africa and visits, I think, relatives, and it talks about maybe her grandmother, but again, it has lots of fun pictures, and it's really relatively short, so it's a quick read. We really enjoyed this book as well. So those are some really good short books. So we read a number of bigger books, and these ones I'd say were good, but possibly I should have waited. Like this one, it could kind of go either way. The Little House in the Big Woods. My kids really liked it. It went slower. There was more description. There was less pictures, but our copy still had pictures. There was times when you could kind of stop and talk about the differences in what life would have been like living in the woods, fending for yourself sort of ideas. So those were good topics to talk about with the kids. There was also times when you could tell they were definitely not tracking or bored. This one I just finished and just reviewed in my January wrap-up, so I won't talk much more about this. But it's a really cute story about a family who's getting kicked out of their house right before Christmas, and there's 5 kids and some of their attempts to stay. Again, I think there's some content, not bad content, but more like, should the oldest girl, the 12-year-old, go to the dance and things like that my kids, I don't think they even could care a little bit about that. But I think if you had a little older kids, they would really enjoy that. So I'm just going to hold up all 3 of these. So these are Chronicles of Narnia books. So we read A Magician's Nephew first, then we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then The Horse and His Boy. My kids did not want to read that. They did get into Prince Caspian, but again, my 4-year-old definitely, every time we brought this out, she's like, eh. My son, we read this one, he was 5. He was a little bit more into it, but again, it was probably too detailed for him and a little too much. So those were kind of like where I feel like I maybe pushed them a little far, but not totally, because they have some great jokes out of these books, or great words they got, so it definitely wasn't in vain. So there's a lot of books that we read, and a lot of them were just wonderful. They're perfect for this age, and I highly recommend reading to your kids. It might take a little bit to get them into it, and they might not know why we're sitting and you're just listening, but I recommend using snack time or Lego time or Play-Doh or anything like that, and they can be moving around and doing all these things, but they're listening. Actually, the more stuff they do with the hands, the better they listen, it seems, or at least my kids. So I have loved reading out loud to my kids. And these are some great ideas if you need some ideas. Please comment below with any comments you have if you've read any of these books, if you've liked them, but also if you have any other recommendations that I could benefit from, or anybody else who is looking through the comments on books for this age range. I would love that. That would be amazing. So please do that and consider liking and subscribing. And yeah, thanks again for taking the time to watch. Okay, take care.